me tell you something. Let me ask you a question, all right? Was Tawana Brawley raped by 6 white men in Wappingers Falls? Or has she really been raped by 3 black men who are victimizing her right now? Many of you across the country have been following this in your newspapers, and some of you even may have seen it on the Phil Downey show a few days back when Phil interviewed the 3 Stooges, Messrs. Sharpton, Maddox, and Mason, all right? Indeed, the story hasn't really been told, because the story is developing every single minute as Perry McKinnon, a man who pulled the plug on the alleged liars, is going to give us the story tonight through his own lips and through the lips of the only man who has spoken to him since he has been in the grand jury hearing all day long, our friend Mr. Roy Innes. Stand by. Let's go. Let's a couple of little secret pieces of information that we're going to hear tonight, my friends. And while we have all of you in the audience and you'll want to ask questions, we also have members of the press with us tonight, and the press will be available to ask any questions that they want. Let me start with you, Roy Innes. You, some months ago on this show, said, Al, when Al was here, come back home. We'll take you home. We want you to come home. We think that you're heading for trouble. You doubted this story of Wappingers Falls from the very beginning. Why, let me ask you first, why Perry McKinnon is not here in this studio right now?
I think he's in somewhat of a quasi-custody of Attorney General Robert Abrams.
How do you mean that? Was he allowed to see the press coming out of the grand jury room?
Perry and I agreed that he will go up to Poughkeepsie this morning with Abrams' people, and that this afternoon I will bring him back down. Bring him to meet with my lawyer, Harry Lipsick, and a few of the things, Galen Kelly, my investigator.
All right.
After the grand jury was dismissed this afternoon, Abrams' people attempted to keep him incommunicado from me and from the media. Finally, they allowed me to talk with him for a few minutes.
You then are the only person who has talked to him outside the grand jury room.
Yes, I am.
All right.
And then he spoke with the media very, very briefly and told me he was tired, that he will talk tomorrow. But Abrams' people kept him in some kind of quasi-custody and did not allow him to come with me.
Does that mean that you think perhaps Abrams might be tied in with the 3 Stooges?
Not really. Abram, yes, is a bit of a marshmallow. I'll say that. Abram, yes, is a fellow that can be racially intimidated. He's a bit of a coward when it comes to racial matters. In his attempt to be super sensitive to the black situation, he becomes, in fact, oversensitive and thereby becomes a reverse racist in the process.
All right, well, I don't want to get into that so much as I want to get into the fact that what has Perry McKinnon told you? How long ago did he doubt Sharpton? Why now does he come home with this information? I mean, did he come home with this information because he didn't get some paychecks, or his paychecks bounced, or what?
No, not at all. The plain fact is, Perry has been helping out Al Sharpton and his movement with money. So it's not a question of money.
Perry's been helping them with money?
He's been spending his money with Sharpton and with the movement. Perry has been trying to do what I did in your program, warn Sharpton of the danger of his buddies, Maddox and Mason. He's been trying to warn Sharpton about the shakiness of this case. He, too, has been trying from the inside. I did from the outside. From the inside, Perry tried to pull Sharpton away from Maddox and Mason.
You believe him?
Yes, I believe him.
You believe him?
He went and, in fact, probably duplicated much of our effort, Galen. He went and did a private inquiry in the area. that we worked in. And he went back to Sharpton and advised Sharpton that he should back away from this thing. And
Did he say anything about whether he thought Mason and Maddox were racists, or whether they were obstructing justice, or whether they were...
He said categorically that Mason and Maddox were not concerned with the facts. He warned them that the case could not stand legal scrutiny. They said to him they weren't concerned about the facts. They were going to fight this case politically. They were going to build a movement around this case.
Let me see on our monitor, and I'd like the folks at home to be able to view this as well as the people in our audience. Let me see a little get-together with Messrs. Sharpton and Perry McKinnon on one of our earlier programs, if we may see that, please.
Nor do I think our communities ought to be policed by people or by a department that is set up, that has been based on discrimination historically and abuses and brutalizes the community, because we're not in it.
Do you know what I do for a living?
Tell me, sir. What do you do for a living?
Do you know?
Obviously, I
You
don't,
know about
sir.
tapes.
You tell me.
You know?
You tell me. What do
I'm
you
the
do?
guy that Reverend Sharpton is running with. I'm the guy that got all the drug information. It's me. And you want to know something, Mr. Baston?
Certainly.
You know what our community is tired of? Because I live in the community. You don't. You just write lies about it. I'm out in the streets every day.
Okay.
And I want to tell you
You
something
involved in drugs, Perry?
That's right. I find them. I get the information up. And it's me. I'm here with my name and my face on TV.
All right, let me then come back to you and ask you, Roy Innes. Later in this program, do you have a code that we can contact Perry McKinnon at?
Yes.
All right, so we'll do that later in the program, all right? Because I want Perry McKinnon to be able to answer some of my questions, some of the questions from members of the press, and also you. Galen, I'm going to come back to you in just a minute, all right? Because I know that while you were interviewing and talking with Perry McKinnon today, indeed, Galen, you went to another part of the state and talked to a mystery and surprise witness in this thing that you'll reveal to us.
Yes.
We'll do that as soon as we return. Stand by. Galen, I said I was going to come back to you, but first to set this scene for us today, Roy, why don't you tell us, you brought Perry McKinnon up to the grand jury this morning.
Now, he was driven there by officers from Attorney General Abrams' office.
All right.
But we agreed on that procedure.
All right.
And we also agreed that I will bring him back.
How long have you been working with Perry McKinnon now and knowing that Perry McKinnon was going to become involved in this area?
Not very long. Perry called me and came to my office yesterday morning, early.
Why you? On this show, he called you an Uncle Tom.
I guess he went and followed my footsteps and investigated the case and found that we had the facts.
So you did get to see Perry today after his testimony before the grand jury.
I certainly did.
Now, Galen, there is a secret witness in this situation that has not surfaced as yet. I don't know if you'll surface the name, but I know that you went and interviewed this man. What did you find out from this man?
Well,
Because I understand that this man may be the third in command to Mr. Sharpton.
could well be. Second, third, fourth. Certainly right up there by the top. Somebody that was very close to Perry. Both Perry and this individual really left Sharpton's movement some weeks ago. And they left independent of each other, and perhaps for somewhat slightly different reasons. And Core was in touch with this other individual. This other individual had contacted Core. And yesterday, as Roy was spending time, quite a number of hours with McKinnon, I spent many hours with this other individual. So these two individuals left...
What information did you garner from this individual?
It was very interesting that things that we had investigated come to the conclusion of, without me informing this individual of that, he had come to those very same conclusions through different sources
Well,
and
you
had
say
come back.
conclusions. You say conclusions. Did both of them, and gentlemen, I ask you this to see if there was any convergence of your thoughts as you got together, did both of them independently come up with similar stories as to the activities of Sharpton, Maddox, and Mason? Did both of them similarly come up with stories that Mason and Maddox knew that they were involved in a subterfuge?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What makes it so confirming is that these two individuals left weeks ago. They have not been in touch with each other in weeks. Roy spoke to one, I spoke to the other, independent of each other. They both said virtually identical things.
Bill Bastone from the Village Voice. Bill, you've been on this program with Reverend Sharpton before, and with our guests. Do you have any questions or anything, any comments about how this chain of events is turning and what you believe it is in your mind?
Well, I think if you look at Sharpton's outfit, if you look for like the last year and a half, principally when he has defections within the group, it's over money. That the guy has bounced 10 checks, he hasn't paid him his salary, and so on and so forth. And when earlier this year the stuff blew about him being an informant, I think the money started drying up. He doesn't have a telephone anymore. His answering service is disconnected. He's being thrown out of his apartment for back rent. I think that before we start, swallowing everything that Perry McKinnon is saying, and that whoever this mystery witness is, you should keep in mind the possibility that these guys too may have an axe to grind.
Well, indeed they may.
Their
Indeed they may,
paychecks
Bill.
stop that.
Indeed they may. But we've just gained from Mr. Minnis the fact that McKinnon was putting money into this movement himself.
Well,
additionally, gentlemen, additionally, McKinnon is a double Bronze Star winner, all right? Additionally, McKinnon is the guy who went in and defused the bomb some years ago, saving a number of lives. When can we name any of these wonderful, humane things that Mr. Sharpton has done?
We can't, but Mort, you have to remember the last time, you have to remember he's been with him. McKinnon was with Sharpton.
5 years.
No, I don't think it's been 5 years.
How many
I think
years
it's only been months. It's been 6
No.
or 7 months.
2 years.
2 years?
No, I
2
don't
years.
think that's okay, anyway.
The other fellow has been there
say
much
it's been
longer.
2 years. Let's say it's been 2 years. You got to wonder why, at this point in time, he's decided to come forward.
Because of Madison Mason.
But he has sat through, if he's been 2 years, he's sat through meetings with mobsters, every single scam this guy's perpetrated for 2 years. He sat through the KKK, the IRA, Abrams is a Hitler, et cetera, and then finally comes forward. I think we need to hear his reasons and not speculate on the truth of what he's saying until you can see some proof that he put money into it.
Either one of you gentlemen.
Both these people have been very candid as to the reason. And one of the things...
Also, I believe he took a lie detector test in which they said he passed with flying colors. Now, the guy is, in that case, as Sharpton says, either honest or a pathological liar. Sharpton believes he's a pathological liar.
And you wouldn't be able to tell the truth. Now, I saw the questions being asked on television yesterday, and unfortunately, in my estimation, they were the kind of questions that really didn't get to the heart of an answer, which means you can very easily falsify your answer and not be able to indicate it. And that concerns me.
The interest here is that
the one thing, there's a point that I want to make. I'm not going to try to reduce anyone's character. We've had too much character assassination here now. But the mere fact that a man has fought for his country and received a medal does not mean that every word that leaves his mouth is the truth. And I think that we're making a mistake with this case because we keep giving hearsay, which is not admissible.
I agree.
Which is not to the heart of the case. The question is, was the girl raped? And if so,
well, then, Doctor, don't you really have to determine that a crime has been committed before you seat a grand jury? And indeed, they have not proven that a crime was even committed.
It is not the responsibility, and again, I'm sorry to be in a position to have to defend two attorneys whom I don't really like the way they've handled the case. It is a responsibility of the state of New York to pursue this matter before the grand jury. It is a responsibility of the special prosecutor.
It is the responsibility of the state of New York to pursue this before a grand jury after they have proven, after they have determined, not proven, determined a crime was committed. That has not been determined yet.
Oh, no. They don't have to. All they have to do is to have an allegation of a crime. I'm now speaking as an attorney. If a person alleges that a crime has been committed against them and alleges a complaint, makes a complaint to the proper authorities, they must investigate. Now, as a consequence of their investigation,
Who's made the complaint, Dr. Toot?
would be the young girl.
She hasn't, Dr. Toot.
The basis for that is, from what I understand from the media, is that she was never presented at her request mugshots to identify the possible assailant. That's step number one. That's a given. If indeed that initial step was not complied with by the state of New York, then I can understand a person distrusting the authorities.
In America, do you determine how the investigation is going to be conducted? Where do you determine you're going to see mugshots first? I think it is the obligation of the alleged victim to establish that
No, sir. That's
she has
not
been
American law.
victimized.
That is not American law. You can applaud that statement now. You can applaud that statement now because it relates to this specific case. But you broaden that statement and have it applied to you in this audience and to all Americans, and you will have done away with our basic constitutional rights.
That is
And
not
that
true.
I'm not willing
That
to
is
give
not
up
true.
on one
I
case.
think,
I'll give
Dr.
you an
Toot,
example right now.
Dr. Toot, you're a lawyer.
It is
We've
not-
done away with our basic constitutional rights by having a grand jury. That's in secret. No, we're not supposed to have anything in secret in a democracy
Grand juries
or
have
republic.
always been in secret.
Then they
But
shouldn't
again,
be allowed.
I'm not going to argue the validity of a grand jury, but I will say this. It is not the obligation of a victim to prove their case.
No,
it is
to
simply the
prove that
allegation
they have been victimized.
that a crime was
It
committed.
is their,
prove they
it
have
is
been
their
victimized.
obligation to prove they've been
That a
victimized.
crime has been committed.
Exactly.
Let's
right.
take it out of rhetoric and
Exactly.
emotion.
Good.
Let's not say victimized.
All right.
Let's simply say
That a crime has been committed. We haven't
Has
even
she proven that a
established
crime has
It
been
is,
committed?
She does not have to prove it. She simply alleges it.
How do you expect her to prove it?
By cooperating and trying to corroborate her allegation.
That's her proving it?
All you can do is to try to give a preponderance of evidence that, yes, a crime was committed. Yes, I was the victim. And these individuals are the most likely people to have
That
perpetrated
is
that
the
crime.
responsibility of your attorney
Everyone
general.
else
Then
do
the
that.
And what
state
he
is
should have
wrong the
done
way that...
was
Then
to
Dr.
bring
Toot,
in
Dr.
those-
Toot, what you're
you
saying...
missed a very valid point.
Right.
Why do you
What
want to
should
be
have
What
been
you were
done?
saying, Doctor, then, is that the Attorney General of the state of New York has not conducted this grand jury of this case properly. Am I correct?
I have no doubt about it.
All right, we'll be right back and meet some men who say that Mason and Maddox are absolutely right. Stand by.
Transportation for the Morton Downey Jr. Show, furnished by Redwood Limousine. When in New York, call 212-226-7665.
We've got some gentlemen who have joined us. Dr. Gloria Toot joins us at home base in this segment, along with, I believe we've got Fred Newman is with us and another gentleman. Which one is Fred? Fred, you're on the side of Maddox and Mason in this situation because you think you have additional information that would be helpful.
Well, actually, I'm on the side of Brawley.
All
And it
right.
must be remembered that the Brawleys, Tawana and her family, have chosen Mr. Maddox, Mr. Mason, Mr. Sharpton. They have decided that these are the people who best represent their interests and their concerns, and that's a basic American right. and that
Okay,
has to be
Colin,
understood.
how about you, sir?
Yes, I think, Mort, you continually refer to Maddox, Mason, and Sharpton as if they were the issues. The issue we all seem to forget is Tawana Brawley, a woman who was raped and sodomized at a particular location almost 1 year ago.
A woman who was
The point is-
allegedly raped. Allegedly raped.
Just a moment, just a moment.
Allegedly, am I
Okay,
correct,
yes,
sir?
but let me tell you this. As Dr. Toot has correctly said, all that is necessary for an arrest is an allegation by a victim that something happened to her and that certain individuals did it to her. In the Scottsboro case, for example, a white woman got up and said that 7 black men raped her, and they were not only arrested but were almost executed based on the uncorroborated allegations of this woman.
Okay.
And over again, this is how arrests are made.
You'd like
Arrests are not
to
made by the
see
grand
this
jury.
done again, then? You'd like to see the Scottsboro case?
There is a criminal justice system that will determine
Then if
after
there's a
trial,
criminal
that will
justice
determine
system,
after
how
a
come
trial
your friends
whether
Maddox
they
and
can prove-
Mason haven't been capable of dealing with the criminal justice system? They don't do it.
Let me just remind you that both Mr. Maddox and Mason are very competent attorneys. They have successfully defended quite a few clients. and their reputation, I think, is beyond
And
reproach.
they are successfully subverting the law right now. How can you defend that type of representation?
They are not subverting the law. What
They
we
are
have in
subverting the law.
What we have in New York State here is a travesty of justice. We have a case where a governor of the state, in spite of documentary evidence, has refused to appoint a special permanent prosecutor to prosecute victims of racially motivated violence. And because of the failure of the governor to act, the result is that you have a local district attorney who's had to excuse himself, you have another individual who had to excuse himself, and you have no individuals who are capable and competent to prosecute the perpetrators of this crime in Wappinger Falls.
So
Because
who should handle the crime?
The crime should be handled by a special prosecutor appointed by Governor Cuomo in consultation.
Who should it be?
In consultation with the attorney.
In consultation with what attorney?
In consultation with Maddox, Mason,
Since when? Since when? Since when does the... Oh, come on, baby. Get out of the 60s. I call you baby. Get out of the 60s. I'm a punk. You're a punk. Don't put your hands on me, Dad. Don't put your hands on me. Don't put your hands on me. Piece of... Hey! What? Now say your piece.
All we got here is allegations.
All right, and all you've got are allegations.
But all we got here is allegations also.
But we're not
We got
asking to appoint. We're not asking. We, the people, are not asking for
What about
our
Tawana?
lawyers.
What about the Brawley family and their right? Their right conducted as they see fit by competent advisors and lawyers. That's the issue here. The issue is that Mr. Maddox, Mr. Mason, and Reverend Sharpton quite justifiably contend that they have to do what is right for their clients.
Those
That is a
guys
basic American
accepted
right.
Bobby Abrams. They accepted Abrams as a special prosecutor.
Bobby Abrams
After
has
consultation. And the only reason they turned against Abrams,
No.
because he wouldn't cut a deal with them.
No, that's not true. Mr. Innes,
Mr. Gentile up in the
I'm
Bronx,
not
and now we know who he is.
they never accepted Bobby Abrams. No, they sat down and they wanted to discuss
Let me
the conditions under
let me
which
hear
these
perhaps
people
the
were
voice of
taken.
reason from Dr. Two.
You know what's wrong with this case? You're making it too emotional. Yes, we all are. You don't cut a deal with the Attorney General or with the governor as far as the law is concerned. You don't say that the victim has a right to consent to who the special prosecutor is. You would hope that they will pick a person of sensitivity and care. But it is the job of the Attorney General to investigate and find out if there is a case and to call before the grand jury anyone who may have knowledge.
Including the victim.
Including the victim. Let me go one step further. If indeed the victim, alleged victim, indicates that there are three of...
As Maganin ignores the runner scoring where he could have stopped him at third. And they finally get the double play. You know what?
Before the grand jury and interrogated. So should the victim be brought before the grand jury. Now that is fair.
Well, let me ask the question.
There's a fairness.
Wait a second, Dr. Two. Let me ask Roy Innes the question. And let me pose this to you only as a question. Do you think that Abrams has cut a deal with Mason, Maddox, and Sharpton?
No, in fact, the deal fell apart.
He tried to cut a deal?
It is because Abrams did not agree. See, the hustle that these guys pull with a special prosecutor nonsense, like in Howard Beach, was to get the special prosecutor to start the case from this point only, which conveniently absolved their clients from any culpability. For anything.
What are you talking about, Roy?
Which
Morton trial.
If Bobby Abrams had agreed not to look into Ralph King, the stepfather, Let us look into the mother. Let us look into Tawana. If he agreed
the father and
to
the
have
mother.
done that,
What bearing do
Roy,
they have?
when you investigate a case, you investigate a case.
No.
Roy,
If
you
the case
seem to
is
forget,
great, wait a
Roy, you
minute.
seem
No,
to
you
forget
don't.
that the defendants
You
in
don't.
this case
If
are
the
not
case-
the client
Doctor, let me
of the
say
attorney.
this.
No, wait, that's the
Indeed,
defendant.
let me say this, gentlemen. Indeed, you would, because Dr. Toot has a very valid point. But indeed, you would look into those situations if you had any suspicions that perhaps the father had been involved in manhandling the
didn't say
child,
that.
or that the
Of
mother.
course I'm saying that.
You didn't
Of course
say
I'm
it.
saying that.
And that's what's wrong with this case. People sit around and they generalize. You're talking about
All right, I'll tell you what. I want to. This is very important. We're going to meet
Stop generalizing.
All right, we're going to meet a classmate of Tawana's. All right, and hear her horror story. Stand by. She's coming up next. All right. I'm not sure that we've developed a damn thing here tonight except a lot of noise and a lot of backstabbing back and forth. And I want to get to Mr. McKinnon, all right? I want to speak to Mr. McKinnon. I want to speak, Galen, I want to speak to your gentleman, all right? I think it's imperative that they come forward. Stop hiding in the closet. Vicki, you were a classmate of Tawana Brawley's. You appeared on this show once before.
Yes, I did.
I want to roll a tape real quickly to show exactly what happened when Vicki was on this show before with on the Tawana Brawley situation.
She's not Little Miss Innocent.
Why do you know that?
What girl who's Miss Innocent gets in a stolen car, goes to visit her boyfriend in prison?
How do you know she knows it was stolen?
Well, who goes to visit a boyfriend in prison? That's Miss Innocent, goes out with people who are for attempted murder.
Is that what he's in jail for? Is that what he's in jail for? Her boyfriend?
He's in jail for a gun rap.
All right, after seeing that tape, Vicki, and after appearing on that show and returning to your school, would you relate to us what happened?
I returned, and some of the black students in our school were very upset. I was attacked by 3 black girls in the locker room, all alone. They cornered me, and they hit me, and they pushed me, and they yelled and screamed at me. And you're saying, what about Tawana's rights? Well, look what this has done to our community. It has hurt our community so bad. I was friends with these people for 13 years, never had a problem. But because of this and all the racial problems they're creating up there, our community is
All right,
like...
what you're saying is, I don't want to get into a big, wave the flag for the community. It's all across America that we have to watch this stuff happening where whites attack blacks, blacks attack whites, and we allow everyone else to get us at each other's throats. Indeed, what you did when you were on this show before is talk about a girl in your class and in Tawana's class who had done the same thing and supposedly been kidnapped and raped and then admitted that it was all a hoax and that Tawana was aware of that story. Am I right?
I didn't talk about that.
That was talked about.
Yeah, that was talked about.
All right, that was taped. Galen, you told us on a previous show that indeed, and this is an allegation, that indeed Tawana was a hooker.
Yeah.
But even a hooker has the right not to be raped.
Worst person in the world can become a victim. There's no question about that. And that person's rights certainly have to be protected. One of the allegations that came up during the course of the investigation, unpleasant as it is, was that Tawana was involved in prostitution.
I'm going to stop us right here, all right? The reason I'm going to stop us is I've got Perry McKinnon standing by on the phone. We're going to Perry right after this break. Stand by. Perry McKinnon is with us by telephone right now, and I got to tell you this, as I've said earlier throughout the show. Here's a guy who's distinguished himself with a couple of Bronze Stars in Vietnam, who indeed went in and broke apart a bomb which could have killed some people a few years ago, and now has come forward and allegedly says, and I say allegedly, it hasn't been proven yet, that Messrs. Sharpton, Mason, and Maddox are perpetrating basically a fraud on all of the American people. Perry, you're either a hero and a brave man or a fool, and I welcome you to our program.
Thank you.
Terry, let me ask you, what made you decide to come forward and tell the facts as you know them?
Conscience.
Conscience? Why did you just get the conscience now? I understood you broke from Mason, Maddox, and Sharpton about a month ago.
Well, my situation, I felt I had to get in position where I can do this. This wasn't an easy thing to do. It took a lot of time soul searching, and it took a lot of time to think, to be sure that this, number one, is what I wanted to do, and would do and go over the facts again. I took a lot of time to think.
Let me ask you.
This was not a spur of a moment out of any anger.
Let me ask you a question, because you've been on this show a couple of times with Reverend Sharpton.
That's right.
And indeed, while Mr. Sharpton is calling you nothing more than his driver and a pathological liar, in each instance, as our audience will see in this show, that you were on the program, you took an active role, you participated, you answered questions, you asked questions, and were deferred to on a number of occasions by Reverend Sharpton. Were you just his driver?
No.
Did you sit in on some of these planning sessions?
Most of them.
Did you express your discontent with that type of planning?
That's right.
And were you just ignored?
That's right.
And were you told that you were no longer necessary in their organization?
Oh, yeah. They let me know that in a number of ways, Morton. Let me say this. When I thought he was right, I defended him, and I defended him in the public.
Yes, you did. Do you know of anyone else in Al's organization who may indeed have felt the same way that you did and broken from Reverend Sharpton, Mason, and Maddox?
Well, one fella did, but he went back to him. So I couldn't depend on him to verify anything I said.
One fella did, and he went back to him. Does the name Simeon ring a bell to you?
Oh, he didn't go back.
He didn't go back.
Yeah, another fella broke from him and went back.
All right. We have some folks here with us, some friends of yours I'm going to let you talk to. We also have some members of the press. Jim Hirsch from the New York Times is with us. Jim?
So what specifically did the grand jury ask you today? And
I did not talk about the grand jury. You told me that you would not be at liberty to do that.
Okay, then let me ask you this. When you were with the Reverend Sharpton, how much money did he raise and how was the money spent?
I cannot discuss that stuff. The only thing I can tell you is this. Until some of the people in the black community, white community, and all our communities, until we stand up, no matter where it's our brother or what, stand up and be counted for. When I think a person is right and I feel that they're right, I go out there on the limb. I put my own self out there. And if I think they're wrong, I will also come out in that direction. When I see wrong, I know wrong when I see it, and I know right when I see it.
Terry, will Simeon corroborate your story?
I don't know. I haven't seen Simeon in months.
All right, Galen, you want to say something?
I spent maybe 10 hours yesterday with Simeon. And we talked at great length regarding this. And he seems to have corroborated everything that's been said. That he did his own investigation while he was there, felt that the story was a fraud, had many talks with Sharpton, Mason, and Maddox about this. They seemed disinterested. I must say, Simeon still has a great deal of loyalty to Al Sharpton, and it hurt him a great deal to part company.
Terry, do you still have a great deal of loyalty to Al Sharpton or love?
Yes, but I don't have to go along with something wrong.
Does he owe you any money?
Oh, yeah. But, that's not why I broke. That money was owed, long before I broke.
Would that be one of the motivating factors that would make you break with him?
No, because I'd have done that long ago if that was the factor.
All right. Let me ask you something, and it's not about your testimony before the grand jury. It's whether you think in your mind that grand jury believes you today.
I don't know. I'm going to leave that up to the grand jury, and I think that's what the system is about. I'm going to let the grand jury make up their mind about me. I believe that I believe that the grand jury is a fair and impartial body, I think they do their job.
You
I mean,
believe-
we looked face to face.
Do you believe Bobby Abrams is a fair and impartial prosecutor in this matter?
I really do. And I believe Bobby Abrams is a gentleman. First, I believe he's a fair and impartial prosecutor. If he's first given an opportunity.
Were you aware that at one time Bobby offered a deal to the Masons, Maddoxes, and Sharptons and Brawley family?
Well, you have to be a little more specific about that.
Well, indeed, did they sit and discuss the possibility of cooperating with the Attorney General in his investigation if they began the investigation from a certain area forward and didn't go into the lives of Tawana Brawley, her mother, and her stepfather?
Boy, I can't speak on that now. I can just say this. I was down there, and they stayed in negotiations for 2 days. And the Attorney General was brought.
Okay, let me go back to Mr. Hirsch or any of these gentlemen who have any questions.
Let me ask Perry. Perry.
Colin Moore is going to ask you a question, Perry.
Hello, Attorney Moore.
All right, Perry.
How you doing? It's been a
Not
while.
bad. Okay, Perry, I just want to ask you this simple question. Have you been given any monetary considerations whatsoever, be it rights to the writing of a book, appearance in television shows, money or whatever?
No, I haven't. I received 2 things while in the course of this. I received 1 cheeseburger for lunch, and and 2 days later I received a half a sandwich with white bread and 4 cups of black coffee.
Well,
I bought all my old cigarettes
Perry,
and my Coca-Cola.
Perry, it's a lot easier on your teeth than pumpernickel.
Yes. I like yours better. Yours shine, Morton. Are you wearing your red socks? I can't see you.
I got the red socks and the big choppers going. Let me come back for just a second here to Bill Baston from the Village Voice, who has a question for you.
Perry.
Who's Bill?
Yeah.
How you doing? I'm not gonna start.
Just exactly how much does Reverend Sharpton owe you?
Bill, I can't go into that, but I will talk to you face to face before we.
Okay, well, yeah,
discuss that
okay, but
publicly.
Perry, the last time we were both here, you stood at this podium, and Morton and I asked you questions about where the money from the National Youth Movement went, how many members worked at the National Youth Movement, questions that, hey, if you believed in it, we thought you would have answered. I mean, how can we believe anything you're saying now when, lo and behold, 3 months ago, you were here, backing up Al Sharpton and pumping up Al Sharpton? Is it a leap of faith on our part?
Go ahead, answer
Bill,
it, Perry.
answer the question?
Answer it, or we'll have a 2-hour
I can answer the
special here.
Quite. The question's easily answered. A man can learn a lot about something in 3 months that he didn't know before. Like I said, I will answer your question face to face.
So all the revelations occurred within the last 3 months?
A lot of revelations occurred in the last 3 months.
Okay.
Did you ever meet with any mobsters along with Reverend Sharpton?
Mr. Basson? Mr. Basson?
Yeah.
I cannot go into any of that kind of stuff on the program at this point. You are aware that I'm under the grand jury right now. And I can't, there's certain things that just, I just cannot answer right now on Nationwide TV. And I can't go into that.
Yeah, but Perry, that has nothing to do with what the grand jury has been impaneled. Let him answer.
How do you know that? The man said at the very start, he asked me to say to Mark that he cannot go into certain kinds of discussions because he's
Is he
before
being
a
asked
grand
about
jury.
this in the grand jury?
I would
wasn't
assume the grand jury would go into
I
all
was there, I
sorts of
would ask
questions, Bill. Yeah, I would think so. How many grand juries you
That's
been
not hard to
before?
figure now.
This gentleman wanted to ask something. Go ahead, Perry. Another question from a detractor of yours.
A what?
Not a detractor, no, just someone who wants to find out what's really happened. Perry, I understand.
Who are you?
I'm Fred Newman from the New Alliance Party.
Hi, Fred. I know who you are.
How are you today? Good. I want to find, I've heard that you had been telling quite a few people over the course of the last several months that you were in the process of putting together a story and we're going to break a story which would win Pulitzer Prizes for newspaper people if they'd just be around to hear you. Do you recall ever saying
Newman,
anything like that to any people?
Newman, you
Yeah.
want to answer to your question?
Yeah.
That's what somebody told you. I can't help what people tell you.
You don't recall saying that?
No, I don't recall saying it.
Uh-huh. So then if we bring forth a witness who, or several witnesses who they heard you say it, that would be valuable to get clarity on this case, right?
Hey, I don't care what you bring forward.
No, I'm saying before the grand jury or before
I don't
whoever
care
else,
where
if we
you
have-
bring them at.
If we know that
Newman.
you've been talking about the fact that
Newman,
you're
I'm not going to argue
story.
with you
No, I'm just
at
saying,
all.
do you think that's
He
relevant?
gave you an answer, Mr. Newman.
Yeah, well, I have another
He
question.
doesn't give a rot snot ball what you say.
You learned that in law school,
Terry?
Mort? Did you get that in law school?
Terry, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let... Wait a second.
Where are your witnesses?
Wait a second. We're not trying it here. I'm going to let Perry go in a minute if no one has any further questions for him. The New York Times has another question for you, Perry. I'm sorry they didn't have these questions when this thing took place about a year ago.
Right.
So why didn't the Reverend Sharpton come to the same conclusion that you've come to about the lawyers Maddox and Mason?
He needs it's about building some kind of movement. I just don't believe in building nothing on no lies.
It's about building a movement. All right? The answer is it's about building a movement. We're going to come back in just a second, and Perry, stand by. We'll be right with you. All right? Get out of here, gang.
Some of the guests of the Morton Downey Jr. show stay at the Meadowlands Hilton Hotel. Little time left in this segment. Galen, you wanted to make a comment. I think this is very important before I go to Mr. Sharpton and the McKinnon tape, all right?
Very importantly, Simeon is still very loyal to Sharpton, and he became disillusioned. And one of the reasons that he comes out and would like to talk to the grand jury is that he told me that he's very much afraid that somebody from the Mason and Maddox crowd, not Mason and Maddox, but from that crowd, would kill Sharpton to make him a martyr and to precipitate race riots in the streets this summer.
I have never
I'm
only saying what he told
Terry
me.
McKinnon, I thank you for being with us, all right? I thank you very much. I want you folks at home, all right, to decide whether it's a perversion of justice, whether these men are honest or dishonest, what you think about them, all right? Take a look for a couple of minutes at Messrs. Sharpton and McKinnon on a previous Morton Downey Jr. show. We'll be right back.
It's about the politics of deception.
Listen,
It's not control. Politics. No, sir,
Let me tell you something. First of all, you don't have the right.
Who the leader is.
And you're going to decide.
We are going to
You're
help
going to
people.
decide.
We're going to help people tell who you
You're
are.
helping by unnamed sources, quoting videos that you haven't seen. Mr. Bestone, do you deny?
We're quoting court transcripts, stuff in the Attorney General's office. This is not stuff that's been grabbed out of the air.
Sir, we've asked you to substantiate one. You haven't been able to name one source. You haven't been able to say you've seen one case. What are you talking about?
That's
the
for a
problem
college.
is that you don't want us to be the ones qualified.
Don't tell me I don't want you to be less qualified. I want you to be more qualified.
They have attacked Vernon Mason. They have attacked Sonny Carson. They have attacked Alton Maddox. They have attacked every leader that they can't pick up the phone and say jump, and he calls them back from midair.
I'm a professional investigator. I have a police background. I'm an ex-captain in Special Forces, 4 tours in Vietnam.
Make up your own mind. Gentlemen, I thank you for coming with us. And ladies, thank you very much, Doctor. Good night, everybody.